Frak, this podcast, come and listen to us talk about Battlestar Galactica. It's a show that we're talking about. Hello, interwebs, and welcome to the Frak. Nope, we're not going with that one. Hello, interwebs.
Yes, we are.
No, screw
yes,
you.
we are.
Screw you. Hello, interwebs, and welcome to the Frak, this podcast. I am your Byronic host, Jesse Gender, and I am joined as always by...
Byronic?
Yeah, like a Byronic hero.
Yeah, I was tempted to give myself the liberty of doing it by BI instead of BY, but like, no, okay.
Ironic is what I am. I'm and I'm ironic about it.
Isn't it Byronic?
And I'm joined as always by...
It's Vera!
Say your name, bitch. Jesus.
Vera is exhausted on just about every goddamn level. So.
Same here. I mean, you have more legitimate reasons than I do. I'm just working. You got life stuff. I'm just working on. I'm teaching a class for a basically a fun program called Godard Spark that's going to be up your way in Vermont. So I'll be seeing you hopefully over the next few days. But I'm just prepping that class. I'm just in the middle of like 50 billion PowerPoints. So trying to get it all worked out.
It's just funny because I pass Godard campus every single time I drive to see my boyfriend.
Well, there you go. Yeah, it's it's surprising because it does have a really interesting history. I know, like, I think it was named Murray Bookchin, who's a very well-known anarchist writer, sort of taught there for a decent length of time. So yeah, no, it's got a decent history.
Yeah, I admittedly don't know a ton about it. I think the only time I was ever on the campus was I did a radio interview there about my first book, Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. So that was a while ago. Yeah. But yeah, no, seemed like a good place.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to do it. It's just a lot of prep, but it's Star Trek is America's self-portrait. So kind of looking at how Star Trek sort of reflected the Western liberal values of the time in which each one was made, and how it challenged it at times and reflected them at others. And also a lot of Gene Roddenberry's nonsense. So yeah.
If your thesis is true, we are about to have the worst era of Star Trek that has ever existed.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the best I can hope for is that it goes away for a while and it'll come back in like however many years, when all of this bullshit is not as terrible. But more than likely what we'll get is some form of quote unquote apolitical action movie, even more apolitical than the J.J. Abrams movies. And I say this as someone who likes the J.J. Abrams movies, but my only hope is that the Dungeons and Dragons writers are currently the one tasked with making the next Star Trek movie. We'll see how long that lasts, but they are good writers, and I like them a lot. So fingers crossed, we'll see. But that's about the best I can hope for.
Place your bets now. Brett Ratner directing?
Oh God, don't make me. I will gouge my eyes out. Oh God, Jesus Christ. I guess it's better than Tarantino, the Tarantino Star Trek movie that kept almost being a thing for a while there.
Is it though?
Yeah, I guess it's not better. It's not better. But
like I'm not saying it isn't arguable which is worse. I'm just saying I don't think that's a clear-cut situation.
Yeah.
Hey, look, for different reasons, granted, but I'm kind of in the same place with Doctor Who. So we both are in kind of a depressive state over our favorite franchises, and we get to talk about this freaking nonsense.
Yeah. Well, at least Doctor Who, like, I'm not too worried. I mean, maybe so, but like, I'm not too worried about Doctor Who going down a super conservative path.
That I'm not worried about.
It's more just like, when the hell is it coming back, and what is it going to fucking look like? I think it's more the question.
Going away might be in its best interest for a bit, though, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, we just need to believeth in them. And speaking of which, we're talking about the comments on the episode He That Believeth in Me. I think the season premiere of season 4 of Battlestar Galactica. So let us look at some comments. We had Super Laser Seth said, I can't believe it took both you that long to remember, quote, remember Byron. At least this time the central figure of the cult is actually charismatic.
The thing was, like, actually, Super Laser Seth kind of nailed it themselves because Byron is not memorable.
Yeah.
Like, the only thing I remember of that storyline was, God, when is this gonna end? And then it did, and it was somehow worse when it did.
Yeah.
But like, the thing is that that entire storyline feels like it's so infuriating because it was such a waste of time in a character I never cared about and a subplot that never worked.
Mhm.
So I don't think it's that surprising that we had a hard time thinking of his name, because it's like the character himself is just
He's
so
so forgettable. He's
fucking
so
bland.
forgettable. Uh,
Oh,
we also had Yum Yum Podcast said, if I had a nickel for every time this podcast has covered a sci-fi show that in their final season has a sex cult led by a long-haired British man, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice.
you're not
Uh,
wrong.
yeah. And then Alf G17 says, it's a shame Battlestar Galactica finished after 4 seasons. I was really looking forward to Lee becoming a mechanic in season 5, the boxing and pyramid champ in season 6, a cook in season 7, and a sanitation work in season 8.
Sounds about right.
Yep.
Oh,
Uh,
and for folks who listen to this as a podcast and don't go to Break Room of Geeks to see the video version, I would recommend hopping over there just to see the short that I cut together.
oh, yes.
So you can see Jesse's face, realize in real time that the phrase Butterfingers doesn't mean the candy.
I don't know what I said. Yes, I realized it in that clip. I don't know what you're talking about.
That the pause and the tone of that yes is gold. And like it was great in audio form too, don't get me wrong, but like, trust me folks, if you didn't see it, you should see it.
Well, good. I'm glad you can laugh at me, not with me. Uh,
Absolutely.
well, now that you've bound me up in that short format, we should talk about today's episode, The Ties That Bind. And I have to say, they are missing a trick for not spelling it like Ty's name. Even though it has
Like,
nothing to do with Ty, it would
that's
seem
what
like
I
a
was gonna
missing a
say.
trick.
That's why that doesn't work. Like, he appears, but
Yeah, yeah. If only they should have saved this title for a Ty focused episode. Yeah.
that's just what I was thinking.
Honestly, it would have been a good like Helen and Ty episode. It feels like that would have been a
Hmm.
good like episode title for like one of their episodes back in season 1 or 2. So
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
Alas.
Alas, alas. Well, let us jump into our recap. I have a feeling. I mean, there's a lot to say about this episode, and also not a lot to say about this episode. I can already say just right off the bat, it's a very quick. You're gonna have thoughts, but
I
let's just
mean,
get to
I
this.
can sum up this entire episode in 2 words, and it was
Yeah.
in fact my first note. You want to guess on what those words were?
Fuck you.
Fuck off.
Oh, oh,
It was fuck
uh,
off. Is was my first note.
yeah, well, let's start with that. We start off with Cavill and all the other Cylons that got killed by the Sixty? Yeah, 60 is what I'm still calling her. 60 and the other side crew of Cylons. They're sort of waking up from the resurrection pods.
When
Uh,
you say all of them, like, presumably the others do as well. We're only seeing Cavill.
yeah, the main sort of lead Cavill that we've been following. And he's sort of going, yeah, this is pure insanity. The Sixers have lost their mind. They have no idea the threat they unleashed. Talking about the Centurions getting sentience. He also alludes like, oh, just doing a little ethnic cleansing, was a phrase that he used to describe it. And Boomer is there, and she says, so much for my swing vote. And Cavill says, teach me not to trust in democracy. And then Boomer kisses Cavill. And that's where you wrote fuck off, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what I have come to the conclusion. According to the logic of Ronald D. Moore, at least circa 2007 or whenever this was aired, according to his logic, the only way that a man and a woman ever see eye to eye on anything is if they are also fucking.
Yeah.
Because that's what I've realized, is that every single time there is a man and a woman who are like, we have aligned interests and like we're going to work together, and also they're fucking. in his mind, there is no way for a man and a woman to work together unless they are also fucking or would like to be.
Yeah, it gives that vibe of like the kind of childhood boy ideology of, oh, men and women can't be friends other than like romance or sex sort of thing,
Yep.
which is
Yep.
bullshit, of course, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It
Like,
does.
and
It also does explain the shot last week where Boomer was. We assumed it wasn't Boomer, but presumably now we can say it was Boomer dancing in front of him naked doing yoga last week.
yeah. Yeah.
So
So I suppose it is kind of a fuck me for not catching this sooner because I guess I was supposed to realize it was Boomer in specific doing naked yoga in his room, and that had specific implications. That didn't come across at all because you've shown that specific model doing naked yoga in general.
yeah,
So if that was what they were trying to communicate in that scene, they already fucked up an episode ago on that.
yeah.
So yeah, this, even though that was probably technically the reveal, this felt like it. And yeah, like having this revelation about Ronald D. Moore's mentality, at least at the time this was made, actually makes so much shit that has gone on fall into place. Like, oh, that's why all this bullshit.
Hmm.
Got it.
Hmm. Oh, well, we're gonna
You
have
still need
some.
to go to therapy, Ron.
Oh,
Okay.
just wait. We'll
Just
get
because I
there.
figured you out doesn't mean you get to skip out of therapy.
It's fine. All right, we move on to Callie is in her quarters, and Nicholas, her kid, is crying, and she's sort of looking around for the chief. He's not there, and she's kind of, freaking out a little bit. We had some little flashbacks of her arguing with the chief about like him working all the time and not being there for them. She says anyone can turn a frack and wrench down there, that sort of thing. And she calls down for the chief to see where he is. But she finds a napkin for Joe's bar, the bar that they built, which had like they made embroidered napkins for the bar.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
like, what is there a rival bar that they need to be marketing and putting that on their napkins to be sure
Yeah.
nobody forgets Joe's bar in particular?
Yeah, the only bar on the goddamn ship they made embroidered napkins for. Like, where's the embroider machine? Like, I don't know. You know what? It's probably the guy who made the models. He needed another craft. He was like, they don't need any more of the models for me, so I guess I'll just start crafting some. Do you need embroidery? I'll make some napkins for you. It'll be fun. It's a nice little craft thing. There's got to be
uh
those people on the ship who's like in their spare time. They gotta have some hobbies.
And for clarification, before a crafty person loses it in the comments, they're not embroidered. It's printed on paper napkins, which is not embroidery.
Yes, shut up. It's okay. It's printed on paper napkins. I'm trying to justify it, all right?
Yeah. Oh, it's okay. Yeah, tell that to Hank Green in the knitting community if you remember that shit.
Uh-huh,
Don't
uh-huh.
mess around with crafty people, dude.
Hey, look, I love crafty people. I was just at a friend's house this weekend who did a lot of Star Trek crafty stuff. And they made like resin molds of stuff, and it was like of ship battles, like little scenes of ship battles from Star Trek. It was really cool, actually. Yeah. Like made ships and then put them in like resin. He did like the Telosian web with like yarn and then like put the whole thing in uh resin. It was really cool. So, yeah. Anywho, we then have the chief at the bar and he's talking with Tori.
You kind of left out a key detail with Callie, though.
Mm.
She's popping pills as
Oh,
well.
yes, yes, she is popping pills, which
Yeah.
we kind of see her perspective because she goes down to the bar where Chief is talking with Tori and they're kind of bonding over how they're feeling about stuff a little bit, though Chief is a little bit more like aggressive with her. Tori has her arm on his shoulder, so she's
On
being
his on like his
his,
elbow actually, because
yeah,
so she's like reaching across and like stroking the backside of his fucking elbow.
yeah. And Chief is talking about like I look in the mirror and I don't know what I am. I used to know who I was. Tori sort of asks, "Are you and Callie getting along?" And then Tori starts talking about like I'm drinking ambrosia. I never liked it before, and now I feel like new sensations, new feelings. Maybe you are too. And feeling open to new things, implying herself presumably.
Yeah. Which
And
all sucks. She did also say the single most interesting thing that has been connected to Tori this since definitely since the reveal, which
hmm,
is she says, I don't hate this, meaning like realizing she's a Cylon because she's starting to like reconnect to things as if for the first time. So like this is the first hint of like any of her fucking inner life we have
hmm,
had since the goddamn reveal.
yes, very much so. But it is also tied up in she wants to fuck the chief, presumably. Uh,
Yep, which is a shame because what would be interesting, and the show is, if it's doing it badly. What would be interesting is contrasting the ways in which each of these Cylons is or is not coping with their situation. Now, we've kind of already mentioned Ty and the Chief are kind of like putting their head down and burying themselves in their existing identities.
Anders is sort of
Anders is
adrift, not knowing where to be.
yeah, Anders is having a little bit of a existential crisis over it because he was already kind of untethered, and it could be an interesting contrast to have Tori start to be more embracing of it, not in a I'm going to betray these people, to the Cylons way, but in a well, if I'm nothing, if I'm not at all what I thought I was, that is freeing.
Hmm.
And that would have been an interesting thing to explore that this episode absolutely fails to do because they decide to channel that through. I think I want to fuck the chief.
Yep, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, the
And
chief.
the other thing is, too, that this episode in particular could have done, but fails to, is it really could have delved into how, like, I suppose technically it's subtextual, but like it's just the context of the situation. It could have actually delved into how the chief, in attempting to preserve his sense of identity, burying himself in his work, is destroying part of the life that he had built. They could
Mhm.
have actually made a thing out of that. I do think it is true, but the show doesn't fucking do anything with that.
No, no, it does not. But yes, the chief is sort of reacting against her. It's like, I don't do well with change. But Callie comes in. She's sort of been watching all of this from afar and sort of presuming, she's the visuals, like she's clearly out of it in some sense because the pills she's taking, like it's all
Yeah,
very
like the,
hazy and out of
the edges are
focus.
blurry and like the sound is fading in and out and like just her face, she looks fucking terrible. And
Yeah.
I don't mean like unattractive, I mean she looks sick.
Yes. And so Callie goes over to confront the chief, but she vomits
Mm-hmm.
when that happens. So, yep.
My note on this was, dear God, this is gonna suck.
Oh, yes, it is. This is the episode that I warned you was my stuff with Callie and Tori. So, yeah, yep, 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 yep. This was my memorable. This scene was my memorable. The end of this episode is my memorable. Oh, fuck this storyline with these two. Yep. Anyways, we then cut over to Roslin, sort of ending one of her chemo sessions, and Coddle says, it'll take about an hour for the nausea to go away. And then Adama comes and sits down and starts reading to her a book called Love and Bullets, which is like a Caprica City noir, detective noir. Um,
And like it's terrible.
oh, it's really
I
bad.
I
It's really
I
bad in a
love like
fun
he's
way.
he's sitting there reading. It is the most overcooked, hard boiled like
The bullet had
this
taken her beauty away from her. I saw her in
yeah.
the ravine.
Her
Yeah.
her body was in the river. Oh, this city, I love it and I hate it. She's a whore. Like this, it is complete. It's such Frank Miller style bullshit. But the thing is, it's funny because like we know that this is what Rosalind likes. When she's lent a book, she's said flat out like, "Yes, it's stupid. Just read it anyways." So I kind of love how bad that is.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's great, but it is also kind of about her because he's talking about like, oh, she, he couldn't be free of her, and whatever. So it's like really bad noir, but it is somewhat him sort of saying, I still, you're a part of me in my life, sort of thing. So it's kind of cute in that double
It's cute.
entendre sense. Yeah,
It's cute. It's a cute scene.
yeah. Um, Then we cut over to Lee, is accepting, he's sort of giving a speech and accepting his appointment to the Quorum as Caprica's representative. So he is Caprica's representative to the Quorum. Tom Zarek is there, and Lee even alludes to him as like, I have valued friends who aren't even from Caprica. Um, And it's a press conference, so someone sort of asked Roslin, "Is there any hard feelings about Baltar's trial?" Because Lee was the lawyer in that, and she sort of says, she doesn't say no, but she does sort of give the politician non-answer, which is, I trust you will give the passion and clear-mindedness he gave in Baltar's trial that if to his being a representative. Um,
Yep.
and then the press also asks about the Demetrius, which is the sewage freighter that Starbuck took last episode, at the end of last episode. And there's rumors already getting out that it's on they sort of asked Adama's like, it's on a military mission, it's classified, I'm not saying anything. And then they sort of says there's a rumor that Starbuck is in charge of that mission, and they say they're not going to address that. So rumors have gotten around.
Yep.
So, um, we have a quick little scene between Roslin and Adama where Roslin sort of points out like they're not going to blow over about the Demetrius. These rumors aren't going to die down. He says, I needed to give Kara a chance and I give myself a chance to believe in her. And Roslin says apparently, and it's very clear, and like that's it's like very dismissed. We're done talking. And it's clear she's like disappointed in him having done so.
Yeah.
We cut over to the Demetrius, where we learn it's day 22 of it being out there, so it's been a month since last episode,
It's been 3 weeks.
Yeah, so thereabouts. We also see that the Demetrius has 2 Vipers, so they do have 2 Vipers with them. So may or may not be relevant. I actually don't even remember. And Starbuck's looking at star charts and everything, and she calls Gata into the room and says, "I made a decision." We then see Gata going down to the rest of the crew, and we see on here we have Hilo, Gata, Celix is there, Athena, and Anders are part of this crew. And then there's a couple other odd folks who are just nameless red shirts.
Yeah, which I remember looking at that and go, bullshit. It just in terms of how many important people were sent on this.
Yeah, Anders, Hilo, and like Celix and Starbuck makes sense, but like Athena and Gata feels a little bit of a stretch.
Athena especially makes no fucking sense. Gata, like, maybe. Honestly, Celix doesn't make any sense either. I would have said, I guess, because clearly they have Viper pilots, but except...
Well, that doesn't make any sense either, because Starbuck can fly a Viper, but even if you have her as captain, you have Athena and Anders, I guess. So you have like 3, and Celix. That's like 4 Viper pilots for the 2 that they have.
Yeah.
So logistically, it makes no sense.
Yeah, it is one of those cases where narratively you want to put a lot of faces the audience knows, but logistically within universe, you would not put this many vital resources and key personnel on this fucking side quest.
Yeah.
That's a terrible idea.
Yeah. No, it makes no sense. Yeah.
Which isn't something that I'd necessarily hold a show to account for all that much, except Ronald D. Moore's entire thing was like, oh, they didn't consider things properly in Voyager. Me. You're no fucking better, dude. You're not.
Yeah. Anyways, the crew is very discontented. Everyone's sort of complaining. It's like sort of feeling like we're riding around in circles. Starbuck keeps making course corrections, saying she's steering with her gut. And one crew member even says like, oh, Adama was just sort of like is just sent her out and he's following her and waiting for her to show her true colors. So clearly we got the makings of a discontented, rebellious crew going on here. Anders, Starbucks comes out and says it calls for Hilo, but then Anders goes over to her and says, anything you can tell us about this trinary star system might help us look for it, anything, and she says, all you need to know, that's all you need to know, Ensign. Sort of referring to him in his professional capacity rather than the fact that they, were married.
Yep.
So, yep.
Which, that also doesn't make, like, unless they've completely reconfigured the military, if he has been allowed to actually fly a Viper, there's no way he's a fucking ensign.
Yeah. Yeah, that I just crop up to. It's a made up military. Who the hell knows what their rules are? Who gives a shit?
I mean, except the entire fucking thing is America, except when it's not.
Yeah.
Like that's again. One of the things that kind of just ticks me off about the show at this point is like pretty much everything is 1-to-1 except for when we want to do something that would be complete and utter bullshit. And we just decide, well, this bit isn't the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
In my book, either keep it as a 1-to-1 and claim that it's because you're making commentary on American reality, or actually deviated a fuck of a lot more than you did and put some fucking effort in.
Yes. But yeah, it's very
Sorry,
contrived.
folks. If you didn't tell, in addition to being kind of over the show, I'm in a bad mood tonight. And while we haven't gotten to the worst of it, this episode did not help.
Yeah, to be fair, this for me, this episode just outside of the stuff that happens at the end of it is just more of a nothing burger for me. So I don't have any strong opinions really. Um, Anyways, we cut over to Callie and the chief. Chief is trying to defend himself. It's like I'm not having an affair. I just ran into Tori. It was completely innocent. Callie doesn't really talk to him. She just sort of says you're gonna need to drop off Nikki. Sort of just ignoring him completely. Chief sort of gets angry and hits the table and causes Nikki to cry, and Callie just heads out. Not necessarily in reaction to him hitting the table, but just sort of like I'm kind of done. So
Yeah, she was getting ready to leave already. That's why she was giving him reminders.
yes. We then cut over to what is at least the most interesting thing of this episode, Boomer aside, which is the Cylons. Um, yes, so Cavill is meeting with Sixie and the rest of the other Cylons. We see a Centurion is cleaning up some of the blood, and Cavill's like, oh, still cleaning up the mess. If you wanted room to spread out, we would have given it to you, you know. And Sixie sort of points out, like, you're always making jokes, like our existence is a nihilistic punchline. And Cavill's like, no, I'm being very serious. Getting riddled with bullets to do that for you. I blame myself. You had concerns. I didn't listen. So now I'm here to listen. What are your demands? And they say, stop lobotomizing the Raiders. And he says, done. Unbox the Deannas. And this Cavill's like, what? No. She says, you talk about restoring our unity. We need to restore our greater unity and unite the 12 models. So Deanna and the rest of the final five. And Cavill says, all right, well, I will take it to the other folks. I don't know if they'll listen, but I'll make your case, at least to them.
Mm-hmm.
Then Sixie says she goes to the Centurion and orders the Centurion to escort Cavill off the ship. The Centurion does not move, and she says, please. To which the Centurion then takes Cavill. Cavill sort of knows you've opened up a bigger can of worms than you realize.
Which was a nice touch. I like that.
So, yep, the Centurions are also a bit rebellious, if we're talking about rebellious crews. Not overtly so just yet, but, hints of that.
At least in you are not automatically superior to me. Don't talk to me like you are.
Which is interesting. Hey, an interesting idea here.
Holy shit!
We got one. Over on Colonial 1, Apollo is sort of going into the Quorum room. There's sort of a delegate sort of room where each person has their own little nameplate, and he goes to his Caprica seat and he's sort of like taking in the moment by himself. But then Zarek comes in and says, inspiring, isn't it? Government by the people for the people, because we need to make sure that you remember that this is like America.
Yeah.
You know, and Lee says, I tried to see Roslin and talk to her, and Zarek's like, well, you were the one standing by Baltar, and Roslin's not one to easily forgive and forget. She's kept me on the sidelines too. And Lee sort of asked, well, why did you nominate me for this position? So we know it was Zarek. And Zarek's like, well, you stood up for Baltar and you put Roslin on a stand to do it, and you weren't afraid to ask hard questions. And Lee says, well, I didn't take this job to help you undermine the president. And Zarek said, I didn't expect you to. I'm on Roslin's side here too. Her directives are starting to read more like decrees and enacted without debate. Secrecy and control are her obsessions, and the Demetrius is just the tip of the iceberg. And then Lee sort of argues stupidly. He says, sometimes a benevolent tyrant is exactly what you need. Lee.
Welcome to installment number 57 of Zarek is right, but nobody listens.
Yeah, right? Because Zarek says, a tyrant craves power for its own sake, and all Laura wants is to save us, sort of hinting at like she's becoming a tyrant. Trust yourself, you're not the kind of man who could ignore the truth when it stares you in the face, and he hands him a classified document. So,
yeah.
Zarek was right, and no one listens. Again, it's just like, yeah, I agree with everything Zarek's saying here. Roslin has shown those tendencies before, like back during the labor dispute episode last season, where she's literally like, oh, this labor guy disagrees with me, lock him up.
Yeah. And again, like it's oh God, it's so infuriating because like there's gonna be stuff, especially later in this episode, where it almost feels like maybe the show is going to actually examine her her borderline dictatorial governing style. I don't know if it will. I don't know if this will take. But even if it does, it is happening so late. It's starting to smack of fucking Daenerys,
Mm.
where it's like you were clearly framed this person as a heroic person, and then with the finish line in sight, you've decided to do something else. I'm like, nope, you needed to start making that pivot a fuck of a lot sooner than now, if you're doing it at all.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be interested to see because this is starting to set up some of Zarek stuff that's gonna go on this season, which I remember being some of the most interesting stuff this season. What I'm going to see if I clock, we'll see how it goes, is what I will say is not gonna say where the story goes. I don't think that he ends up being wrong in the end of what he ends up going for. I don't know if the show realizes it either. We shall see.
I mean, that's been the problem with Zarek from the start. So Zarek has got to become the inverse Garibaldi because with
Yeah.
Garibaldi on Babylon 5, the show kept portraying, giving us a character who really exemplifies the casual abuse of authority of of effectively the chief of police. The show just never realized it did that. And here we have a character constantly making incredibly valid political points about corruption and a class system and all this other stuff.
And
And the show
authority and yeah, yeah.
the show just doesn't seem to realize any of these are valid points, which is kind of disturbing, honestly. Almost, I think actually more so than the Garibaldi thing, because the Garibaldi thing, not that it was okay, but I could kind of chalk it up to, well, by and large, the culture in general wasn't really starting to turn around on cops until a bit after the time of that show. This, especially a show that is trying at various points to engage with shit like the war on terror, and as has been noted, one of its better points, torture never actually gives good information and shit like that. Has a character making these points and doesn't realize they're points worth making and not just dropping, which it has done every time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it's a weird thing. It's something similar that happened with The West Wing. I haven't watched it, but I watched analyses of The West Wing, so people can correct me if I get some of the nuances of this wrong. But it's one of those things where it's the shows are trying to address the war on terror, and yet they have presidents who are, for all intents and purposes, liberal Democrat styled. And so it's like, we're going to address the war on terror and like the problems with liberal American government, but like we can't go too far because we have to like the Democrat, you know? And it's like we can't really address the problem with the Democratic Party. We just have to be like, in an ideal world, they would handle it better because they're Democrats is kind of the vibe, which is ignorant in its own very unique way. But
I think the biggest mistake the West Wing as a show made was to um adopt too many of the real world things that occurred into it,
mhm.
because like the simple reality is that the longer by the time that show got to like his fourth season or so, it was relatively detached from the reality as we knew it. Like, would it pick up on like some parallels to actual like political concerns? But sure, but they had 9/11 happen in the show, which I think was about the worst thing for that show
Yeah.
because they were not prepared to outright condemn what Bush was doing off the back of
No,
uh
they tried to do like the liberal thing that a lot of liberals are doing. It's like, oh, we'll go to the Middle East and like do a feminism. We'll give feminism to
yeah,
Afghanis, that sort of like, Hillary Clinton bullshit.
yeah, which unfortunately had the unintended effect of in some ways whitewashing what we were actually doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like and again, they probably didn't realize how much of a detriment it was, but in hindsight I think having 9/11 happen in universe in that show was probably in a lot of ways its death knell, or at the very least the tipping point where it didn't know how to balance its elements anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and there's a similar like this show is a little bit more willing to go a little darker on that, but it still has the same fundamental kind of core issue there, I feel. Anyways, We will see. We will track that as we go with Roslin and Zarek. We should, I feel like if we ever did merch, we need to do a T-shirt that says "All Garibaldis are bastards" and one that says "Zarek was right."
Zarek was right. All Garibaldis are bastards.
That'd be good merch, I feel like. Let us know in the comments if you'd
Uh,
like that. It'd be fun. Anyways, we then cut over to Callie getting checked up by Doc Coddle. She's sort of asking for a sedative, and she hasn't had a night's sleep since the nebula, is what she's saying. Coddle starts asking like, how are things on the home front? Um, and she sort of is saying like, he's gaslighting me about the and having an affair, that sort of thing. And Cod also like tries to like have a bedside manner and saying, he should have his head examined. Bring him in, I'll take a look. um and she's like, well, just pretend you're being to be a bastard, you actually got a kind heart, she says to him. And I will give him credit because he is trying to like soft approach this. Is like, well, maybe you are seeing things like fatigue and antidepressants are a paranoia cocktail. He's sort of addressing a concern.
yeah.
And he's like,
Referencing the pills she'd been popping.
yeah. And he's like, you're not crazy, because she says, she says, I'm not crazy. And he's like, no, you're not. What was the last time he like touched you? He's like, she sort of alludes to the last time that he's touched her was when he beat her up. Um,
That
oh no, did I
that's
miss it?
you misinterpreted her.
Yeah, I was like, logistically, I don't think that makes sense, but yeah.
No, you are misinterpreting
Because I know
what
where
it
she
was she said.
ends. She says, "I sometimes I wish he would lay hands on me again, because then I would know he had feelings about me." I know that's where she ends up.
That is where she ends up, but you're misinterpreting the conversation
Yes, yes,
because
yeah.
like she brings up that like, I said yes to marrying him a short time after I forget if it was he strangled her or beat like he beat the shit out of her,
Mm,
as you might recall, and then they were married. I forget which is like 6 months later we were married, and Kyle was that the last time he put his hands on you? That
yeah, yeah.
question is not about does he touch you when you're intimate. That was a question of has he
Yes, yes,
hit
yes.
you since then?
Yes. And then she sort of says, sometimes I wish he would lay hands on me, then I would at least know he had feelings about me. And sort
Which
of,
is not a line this show has any business trying to tackle. Here's what I'm going to say.
mm,
It's not a line that you can't use, and it's not a sentiment that you can't use. However, as with so many topics, this show is out of its fucking depth, even approaching trying to deal with a toxic dynamic where things have gotten so bad that one person has at least a partial desire to be hit by the other person, if
mm,
only that it would show that they care. I'm not saying you can't depict that. There is that level of dysfunction, does happen, is real, and can be worth examining. I wouldn't trust the show to do it, even if it wasn't a fucking subplot of an episode with 3 or 4 plots going on.
yep, yep,
So I'm not going to say nobody can do it. I am going to say fuck this show for thinking it could do it.
yeah, yep. Well, we then jump over to Starbucks. Starbuck is painting in her like office that she has on the ship, her little quarters,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you want to call it. Anders comes in and he says you're holing up in here, making people wonder about you. And Starbuck says, "Well, let people wonder." And Anders sort of says, "Well, some people volunteered for this." And she says, "Oh, you mean you volunteered for this? Our marriage makes even less sense now than it did." And Anders sort of says, "I don't buy that. I don't believe you buy a single thing you're saying. You're just scared." And he points to their tattoos that they got when they got married and says, "Remember that we got this?" And Starbucks sort of lashes out at him, saying, "I only married you because you were safe and easy. Now get the frack out." And she pushes him. But then they get very close in the camera kissing distance, as we all recognize. That is a weird thing. Like we all know it. It's just an odd thing where it's just like, oh, if they're this close and the camera's like this close, like, oh, they're gonna kiss. It's a kissing
Yeah.
distance shot.
the
Um,
the thing is, like, this moment, while I did roll my eyes a little bit, it fits their dynamic
yes, yeah, I actually didn't mind this as
in
much. Yeah.
in a way that makes me not because, like, is this a more toxic moment between them? Yes, but they have also kind of earned a moment like this because their dynamic as a couple is just way better developed than most of the rest of the ones on the fucking show. So
Oddly, for how
yeah, I didn't.
toxic it is, it's one of the more healthy toxic
It
relationships on the
it
show.
it is self-awarely toxic. Like
Yes.
they both know that they are bad together, but they also like they don't know how to stop and they're trying to be the best kind of bad for each other that they can be. And
Yes.
like it and the chemistry between these performers also helps a lot. So yeah, I didn't of all the shit going on, I didn't mind this. That having been said, and maybe you were gonna mention this, but Sam ends up like pushing her down on the bed,
Yes. Yes.
and she says very specifically, "Make me feel something," which feels like they're trying to parallel that with what Callie said in the
Mhm.
previous scene, which is ill-advised
Yeah.
if intentional and boneheaded if unintentional.
Yes. I'm just gonna ignore that, but yes, it is there because yeah, they do. She says, "I want to frack. I don't want to fight. I want to frack." I'm not the same girl you married. All I want to do is frack. Like the world doesn't matter. So those are some important things. And then we cut to post sex, and Starbucks sort of says, "We were married, weren't we? That wasn't a fantasy." And Anders says, "Does that seem different to you somehow?" Or she says, "Does it seem different to you somehow?" It's like everything feels so far away. The way things feel, the way things taste, and just not really experiencing it. Like my body's this alien thing I'm attached to. And Anders sort of gives her a look that she doesn't see because she's facing away from him, where he like clearly relates, and we're meant to sort of assume it relates to his Cylon stuff. What I will say about this is I really like this. I actually like it. Like as much as the, kissing fracking thing roll your eyes bit is there considering all the other nonsense relationships this show has been doing. I like it because it is not only just Starbuck feeling untethered from reality. Anders also is feeling untethered and he's coming to her to feel a sense of like this is something that feels familiar is kind of the vibe that I get about it and she's been
Yeah,
pushing him away and now it's something that like he's like okay I can have this and it feels somewhat normal and even she's sort of like I feel untethered to everything and he's sort of relating to it so it's kind of an interesting relationship there.
I mean, this is part of why their dynamic works overall is neither of them is the stable one
Yeah.
in this relationship, and like their hangups and what holds them back is similar enough that they kind of get each other, even though it still doesn't work a chunk of the time. Like again, it is a well, I was gonna say it's well thought out. I don't know if it is. I don't know if they just lucked out. I don't have a lot of faith in this writing team. Can you tell? But however it happened, there is a really interesting, well developed, and believable dynamic between these two that really I think might. God, it's gonna be weird saying this in relation to anything on the show at this point. Might go down as one of my favorite toxic relationships that you don't just want to like end
Mm.
because my general feeling on most depictions of toxic relationships is like please stop showing me this. I know
Hmm.
this is bad. I don't want to watch this. But like there's something about the way that they both know the other one is messed up but they don't necessarily judge the other for it,
Hmm.
that there's something about this dynamic and this pairing and their chemistry that honestly works. It might be one of my favorite dysfunctional relationships in TV.
Yeah, no, it works. Rewatching this show, if you had asked me before, it's like I never would have thought like, oh yeah, Anders ends up being one of the more compelling characters in the final season. I would not have thought that, but like, yeah, no, he kind of is.
Yeah, no, I would say, and honestly, it might be partially because they don't put as much focus on him. He is
Hmm.
often kind of a tag along to the stories, but like somehow that has allowed him to just quietly be one of the better developed and more interesting characters.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
if they ever put a spotlight on him, they probably fuck him up.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I know where his story goes. We'll see how it ends. Let's
Oh
see if it.
god damn it.
It's not. It's not that bad. I'm just one. It's not like it's like, oh, that ending is fucking offensive and terrible. It's one of those like, I'm trying to see if the journey there will be interesting. We'll see. Is more of the question. But I do remember where he ends up. All right. We then cut back to the Cylons, and Cavill is talking to 60 and friends, and sort of says, like, I was surprised we were outvoted. My comparative,
Two Cavils in this
yeah,
scene, which I like. I like when there's more than one Cavill in the room. I just kind of like the energy he has with himself.
yeah, yeah, he's very fun. But yeah, he says we were outvoted. Our compatriots, meaning they were outvoted to unbox Deanna, is like I guess our compatriots think that unboxing Deanna was wrong. Restoring unity, is we'll do that. And he says I don't really agree with it. And like the other Sharons, the non-boomer Sharons, they start arguing with this, and he sort of says, "You don't get to win our hearts and minds. You won the day, but you don't get to win our hearts and minds," which is a point that I like. And 60 sort of says, "Yeah, look, he agreed to our terms. Let's do it. It's
Yeah,
fine. Like,
like
stop."
look, I lost this vote. Don't get mad at me just because I'm not happy about that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and he sort of says, Cavill says, well, Deanna's core consciousness is being downloaded at a resurrection hub, and the servers about a half dozen jumps from here will go together. And the 60s say we'll prefer to stay on our own ships. And he's like, yeah, I wouldn't feel cozy here. So I get it. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which certainly we'll see how well that works out for him, Cotton. As we keep going.
It's a trap.
Yeah, yeah. We then jump over to a quorum meeting where Zarek and where Roslin's running the meeting. Zarek is there, sort of running order as the vice presidents kind of do, and Lee is there as well. And people are all arguing. The Cold Quorum is arguing about the Demetrius. We heard from the press that they're looking for new food sources. Do you think we'll accept this disinformation that is clearly different information from you, Roslin? She says, well, I don't control the media. I'm not going to discuss the Demetrius. My answer on this. Someone asked, do you think this cast doubt on your ability to find a route to Earth? And she says, yes, but don't take that yes as a matter of me like saying anything. Um,
Um,
and
Something I noted in her little comment about I don't control the media. Was just that it was as much as I would like to, I don't control the media.
all right, Trump. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna get your equivalent of what's his face, Colbert fired, Gonna cancel the Zarek report or whatever the fuck you listen to. Um anyways,
Late
uh
night with Tom Sawyer.
late night Tom Zarek. Honestly, I'd watch it. Um Lee stands up and sort of, asks like, well, we can all understand the need for security. Hopefully, we know you and Adama are just exploring all possible routes to Earth. And he seems like he's trying to play peacemaker between the Quorum and Roslin. And Roslin just, shuts him down hard. It's like, well, as much as I appreciate your expertise, I don't need a junior delegate to be my spokesperson. Um,
Yep.
and so then disorder starts breaking out. And so Adama stands up again. He's like, all right, fuck y'all. He doesn't say this exactly, but it's the energy like, all right, fuck you, Roslin. And he sort of tells the floor.
So he doesn't interrupt chaos this time. They actually, because like even though
Yeah,
Rosalind shuts him down, it does seem to calm things. And like a guy's like, okay, fine, well, let's move on to this. And Lee interrupts just the one dude. So it's not even like it erupted into chaos again. It's actually calmed down. And Lee still stands up to stir the fucking pot.
yeah, and well, Zarek asks if he'll yield the floor, and the guy does. So Lee says, well, I've learned about Executive Order 112. Oh, look, someone using
A
executive
fucked
orders.
up executive order.
It looks like you're putting together a system of tribunals with a justice system that answers only to you. And I believe that would actually damage the idea of justice. And Roslyn is sort of like clearly looks at Zarek like, oh, you gave this to him, didn't you? So she is very well aware, and she's sort of saying, well, Executive Order 1112, it's only supposed to be provisional changes. It's the first step in a larger plan to set up a legal system that is independent and create a new legal system, and it is not ready yet. But you know what? We'll put it on the docket for next time. Is that satisfactory for you, Lee? Or Mr. Adama, she says. And so she's able to sort of quell that, but it was sort of Adama sort of playing a card. So.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, she was prepping an executive order to just reshape what little bit of a legal system they have. Yeah, I will be very curious, A, if this ever comes up again, fucking at all. And B, if it does, if she's going to be painted as being wrong.
What I will say, I don't necessarily know if this executive order comes back up again. It may or may not. I don't remember. This sort of Roslin might be going tyrant mode, does come up, but again, whether or not the show seems to realize it's she's wrong, we'll see. I don't remember. I
Yeah, I
I think I have a I'll put this in the spoiler minute. I think I have a vague remembrance of how it goes down. And it's not the worst thing, but falls into some tropes that I don't like, but it's not terrible. But
I'm
we'll see.
trying to figure out in my head which would be worse if they have her go that direction and the show doesn't realize it, or the show realizes it but is just already botching it because they have not built to this properly, like not knowingly at least.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll talk about it in spoiler minute for listeners because I have a vague recollection of where I think this goes with a big storyline that'll happen later, and we'll see if that plays out. We'll put my bets down, my chips down, see if my memory is correct. Anyways, we then jump over to the Cylons. The base stars jump into where the resurrection ship is, and we're following 6C and everything. And they're like, "Oh well, the resurrection ship didn't make the jump with us. Cavil's base stars are setting up to attack us. Oh shit, we need to jump out of here. Ah, fuck, they took out our FTL. And they Cavil blows up their base ship.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. We jump over to Cavill and Boomer. And they're sort of talking about this, like he says to Boomer's like, remember they started it, and Boomer says, but we're killing them, my own sisters. And Cavill says, well, they can trust their god to watch over their immortal souls. And Boomer says, well, what about us? And Cavill says, we're machines, dear. Remember, we don't have souls. Which I like.
Which,
Yeah.
yes, I like that as well.
It's a good little scene of like, yeah, if they believe in God, they'll protect their immortal souls, and if not, well, you know, I don't really believe they have them. So, mm-hmm. So yeah, Cylon Civil War is escalating and getting more fucked up because now there's actual death. So,
Dun dun
bomb,
dun.
bomb, bomb. We jump over to Callie. She starts taking more antidepressants. She is kind of having some memory flashbacks of good times with the chief, but then also remembering Tori with the chief. And so she's sort of like, going stir crazy in her room. But then she goes to leave and she finds a note stuck in the door that says weapon locker at 130 hours. So she goes and follows there, and she sees Ty, Tori, and the chief going to a very secret meeting.
Yep. So
So it's
my note at this was just if she leaves Nikki alone, which she does, nothing comes of that. The show just goes, oh, it's totally okay to leave a toddler alone for I don't know 20 minutes, half an hour.
Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be all right. Yeah. Um, but she does sneak inside the wall of the Galactica, sort of like listen in on this meeting. I will say it was kind of cool seeing inside the Galactica to see how far down it goes, which was kind of interesting. Just as a design choice. Because she's sort of like crawling through the wall, and you can see it just goes down as far down as the Galactica ship goes, and she's just standing on pipes and stuff that's in there.
Mm-hmm.
Also, no, I don't know if I might have referenced this earlier on when we were watching the show. It was just an Easter egg that I never caught. But the door that they go into, maybe I mentioned this way back in season one. But the door they go into, on the door, I just noticed it now, says 1701D on it, which is the registry number for the USS Enterprise D from the Next Generation. I just never caught that. It's a cute little Star Trek Easter egg that I don't think I've noticed, but if I have called that out before, there you go. We then cut to her listening in on all of the stuff with Ty, Chief, and Tori. Ty is sort of going in on Tori saying, oh, I didn't know you were going to be a nymphomaniac, sleeping with Baltar and everything like that. And from now on, we only meet in private. Then Ty sort of asks about Callie and what's going on with her. Ty sort of mentions like, oh, I left a note in the door. And she was like, oh shit, if she finds a note, it'd be a big problem.
Yeah, because that's the chief never found the note. Like he ran into Tori and Tori told him to
Yeah,
come
come.
here. So
Yes. And Ty says, "Well, you need to put an end to this affair business, because your Cylon hating wife, if she finds out that your husband is a Cylon, it will be terrible." Well, this is now Callie overhears all of this, so she now
Yes.
knows that her husband is a Cylon.
That very conveniently worded.
Yeah, yeah, right. So
As you know.
yeah, right. So now Callie is well aware, and she starts freaking out inside the wall. She drops a panel, and like Ty and everyone hears it, but they don't like that guy. Oh, it was whatever. Um, and then Callie escapes from the wall and gets away just in time for the rest of them to not notice her, except for Tori notices that the panel is off the wall when she heads out. So Tori is kind of aware
Mhm.
that someone was listening in. Callie runs back to their quarters. Again, Nikki is there freaking out, as you mentioned before. And I like kind of how this is filmed, even though I don't necessarily like this where the storyline goes, because she's sort of standing holding Nikki, and the chief comes in behind her, and again we kind of get that sort of out of focus world, and the chief's talking to her, but he's out of focus in the background, and his voice is very echoey.
Yeah,
Um,
it's muffled and echoey. Yeah, no, it's a good effect.
Yeah, and he starts saying like, yeah, I was coming down with something, well, she says I was coming down with something when he asked if she's okay. And he's like, look, it's not true. I'm not having an affair. I figured it out. You're important. Nikki's important. We're important. We're building a future together. I promise I'll be here for us. Maybe we should have another baby. Maybe a little sister for little Nikki. At which point, Callie takes a wrench and beats the chief down, and knocks him out.
Which is like honestly a fittingly intense moment, and it actually feels really appropriate that she does that to him after he suggests having another baby, because the
Sense of
she's just found
violation. Yeah.
well, yeah, she's just found out this thing about him, and like the idea that this man who is not at all what she thought he was wants to fuck her
Hmm.
is an incredibly violating proposal. So actually, I think that was the perfect moment
Hmm.
to have her turn around and hit him. That having been said, him mentioning that again just makes me both ask the question and ask, why isn't anyone in the show asking the question, where the fuck did Nikki come from? I thought that wasn't supposed to be able to happen, and that fucking Harrow was a miracle. Chief, why aren't you asking what the fuck the deal with your kid is?
Yeah, it should be a textual question. It does get answered, but it should be a
Yeah,
textual
the
question.
fact that, like, look, I understand the number of people in the show who would realize this is a potential issue is 4 people.
Hmm.
But the fact that none of them, especially the chief, and I understand like he's been distracting himself with work or whatever, but I cannot imagine that he isn't like turning a wrench and at some point doesn't go, wait a second.
Yeah, no.
Like, dude.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll get to that at some point down the line. But Callie runs away with Nikki, and she runs to a Viper tube, one of the Viper chutes, and she is clearly wanting to choose to die by suicide with Nikki by shoving herself out into space. However, as she starts closing it, Tori shows up, and she steps into the tube with her. And Callie's like, all right, well, I don't care. Like, Tori's trying to talk her down, and Callie's like, you can die with me. I don't give a shit. And hopefully you'll resurrect if you're a Cylon or whatever. Um, and Tori starts like walking close to her. It's like, don't do this to yourself or your child. He didn't know. None of us did. Talking about the chief, we didn't know until we entered that nebula. All we know is we're Cylons, and every other way we're people. We're still the same people. And Callie starts yelling like, "You're machines." And she says, "I don't know. We're not evil. We're just as scared as you are. You don't want to do this, Callie. He's your son." Um, and Callie sort of starts like having a come to moment where it's like, "What have I done? I'm so sorry. It's gonna be okay." She says to Nikki, and then Tori says, "We'll work this out together. Let me take him." She takes Nikki from Callie, and then as soon as she does, she punches Callie out. Callie is in a sort of like
I
she's
mean,
a
I want to
dazed.
note this: the punch is good because like it is one of the because again the show keeps fucking forgetting this is the case, but it is a reminder that the Cylons are stronger than humans because like not being able to get into good position for like a proper punch because she's holding a baby. Like she decks Callie. Callie goes flying into the wall and it's a
Mhm.
hard hit. And I hate where this is going. I'll explain why.
Mm-hmm.
Though I suspect you know why, but I'll explain why when we get there. But like that moment and the hit being as hard as it did was a good use of something the show frequently forgets to do at all.
Yes. But yes, she punches Callie. And then Callie is disorientated for a minute, but then she sort of comes to. She looks. Tori has Nikki outside of the Viper tube, and Tori vents Callie into space. And Callie is dead. We see her dead body floating in space as we then cut to the chief sitting in his bedroom as Adama presumably tells him that Callie is dead, but we don't hear any of the things being said.
Yeah.
And that's how we end up
So
the episode.
here's the thing. This could have worked
Mm-hmm. I know exactly what you're gonna say because it's my problem too.
if she wasn't stroking the chief's fucking elbow in the bar, which ultimately leaves us with an implication and boils this down to she wants the chief for herself. And so this is just petty bullshit, jealous woman. Fuck.
Yep. If it was just she killed Callie because Callie learned their secret and she's like, and it was just like, I'm protecting myself as I'm uncovering and like going more, because she's been the one being more like, I'm embracing my Cylon side sort of thing.
Yes.
This makes it perfect sense for her character. It's just the whole petty, jealous woman bullshit that gets thrown on top that isn't fucking needed.
It's so unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not only doesn't add anything, was already an active detriment as far as I was concerned, and just wrecks this entire moment. That would have been fine, but for that.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, two people can't have any kind of fucking connection if they are opposite gender unless there is at least some anticipation that one of them, if not both, want to fuck. God damn it, Ron.
You know how it's like there's so much of this show would be better if we just didn't have people fuck at all. Like,
yes.
Yeah. Like if you just remove all the fucking relationship shit, like this show would improve like 1,000-fold.
Seriously, I need a show with a completely asexual cast.
Yeah. Yeah, all right. Yeah.
Like, if only so that this bullshit doesn't bog the fucking thing down.
Also, it'd be great to just see a show with an asexual cast. Like,
I mean, that would just be
great.
Cool. Yeah. That'd just be cool in and of itself. But legitimately, this show is rapidly becoming the main thing I'm going to point at when I go, you want to know why I don't like romantic subplots? This right here, this fucking show is the embodiment of why I hate this shit.
Yeah, it's just like so many of these stories would just improve if you just removed the undercurrent of someone wants to fuck someone and is jealous or toxic or weird about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like all the stuff with Roslin and Adama, all the stuff with Lee and Starbuck, like literally all of Lee and D, like all of it, just so much.
It's oh god. Like Starbuck and Anders, and you know what? I'll even let you have Adama and Roslin because they're mostly cute.
I think just remove the kiss, remove that first kiss of
Roslin. Remove the first kiss, otherwise leave it as is. But like, god damn it, man! Like, and all this shit with Baltar and Six and Deanna and fucking Tori apparently. Like, god, ow! And look, I say this as someone who is absolutely not asexual. I am not. I'm an incredibly sexual being, but I need more asexual shows because not because I don't like sexual dynamics. It's because too many people, straight cis white men, fucking suck at writing them. And I'm so sick of it.
The straight white men are not okay. They're just they're not okay. No. Jesus. Well, that brings us to the end of the episode. I am going to talk spoiler minute for just a hot second. So if you do not want spoilers for the next 60 seconds, jump ahead as Vera's going to do in real time by giving me 60 seconds on the clock. So here we go.
All right. Go.
So my remembrance is we have the Zarek Gata mutiny plot, which also involves sort of Zarek getting at the point of like the government is becoming a problem and Roslin's a tyrant. What I think the show does, and maybe my memory is wrong, because I remember Zarek like killing the whole quorum at one point. Is that like it does the whole Zarek had good points but goes too far trope that I really hate, and has it be like, oh yeah, Roslin is a tyrant and she does need to correct herself. And then she dies at the end of the series anyway, so it's kind of a moot point. But it is like, oh yeah, Roslin was a problem. She needs to stop being a problem. But Zarek goes too far in how he fights back against it. Sort of doing the whole revolutionaries are just trying to are just trying to overuse violence and are just trying to become the oppressors. That sort of trope that we've seen a billion times in things, especially more prevalent in the last few years. Um, but that's my memory, which like is tropey on my favorite thing, but not
Time.
the worst way it could go. So, yep. Anyways, what did you think of the episode?
Fuck this show, man. Fuck this show. God damn it. Like I really am just like at a sunk cost fallacy at this point. If I felt this way and we were still in season 1, I would say you need to pick a different show.
Yeah.
I'm in it because we're close enough to the end, but god damn it, I fucking hate this show.
We'll get there. We're almost there. We're almost
Look,
there.
it's not all bad. Like I can't, for some reason, I can't remember what the hell happened, but I feel like I thought last episode was pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for me, this episode is just it's mostly forgettable, except for all the nonsense romance bullshit and Callie dying. Like the Cylon plot gets advanced decently enough, and I'm fine with that. Like it's like seems like the next logical step in escalation and all of that. And everything else is just fine. It's just we get the boomer nonsense and the Callie Chief Tory bullshit. And then, everything with Starbuck, like Starbuck and Anders is decent enough, but then everything else on that ship is again, it's just sort of like, yeah, no, that's kind of where I expect that plot line to go, and it feels like a just sort of like, all right, we're connecting A to B, but then we have to run through all this nonsense romance bullshit. So,
Yeah.
if you remove the nonsense romance bullshit, it's a forgettable episode of just progressing plot. So.
Yeah. And it's worth noting in the case of the show, I wouldn't say I hate it if it was all bad. What I hate and resent about this show is that there is good here, but it's buried under bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And the stuff that's good unfortunately doesn't exist in isolation from the bullshit. It gets twisted and made not as good as it should be because of the bullshit.
Yeah, it's hard to be like, well, I like this show, but like this stuff over here is bullshit. But it's like, no, it's just like all mired in it.
It is a tangled web, a lot of which is bullshit. Like it is this yarn ball that is about half bullshit, and like I can see the good parts, but like
I can't untangle this. I'm not untangling this.
It's all tangled up with the bullshit. So
yeah.
what the hell?
Yeah. It's like it's just fuck it. I'm not gonna bother getting untangled, that sort of thing. Yeah. I mean, unless it was on you, but we'll get there.
It's the Christmas tree light that you're like, fuck it, I'll buy a new one.
Yeah, I'm not fixing this. We'll just buy a new Christmas tree. Yeah.
I'll get new lights. I'm not untangling this fucking thing.
Yeah. Alas. Yeah, for me, I'm less hating on the show, but it is just one of those like, yeah, that is tangled up in the bullshit. This is just one of those ones. This is the one that I knew was coming. I warned you about it with Callie and Tori. This is the thing that I was alluding to with that. So now we just gotta deal with D.
Well, I was gonna say, I suppose the one upside is you warned me about D, Callie, and Tori. We knocked 2 out in 1.
Yeah, that was the thing. Yeah.
For whatever that's worth, I guess.
And I'm honestly the D1. I'll be curious to see how the D1 lands because I remember it being controversial at the time, but now that I think about it, because I remember exactly what it is, and listeners will know exactly what it is. But it is one of those things where it's like, I don't know if it'll land great, but there might be a truth in it. We'll see. We'll see when we get there. So, but
again, for me, that might make it worse. That there's going to be a glimmer of something that could have worked, but doesn't. Like at this point, I'd rather the show just was shit.
Yeah,
I'd honestly kind of like this is oddly why I'm kind of looking forward to doing the original and even Battlestar Galactica 1980. Like Give me something that I have no expectations of.
Yeah, that's gonna
Get,
be camp weird nonsense. It'll be great.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Just give me the camp weirdness that I can just dwell in this and go. They weren't trying to be deep. They didn't think they were clever. They were just trying to have fun. I'm so ready for that. I'm so fucking ready for that.
Well, we will get there. We got a few more episodes of this show, a couple movies and Caprica as well. So, which Caprica, I mean, I'm excited about Caprica. I think Caprica will work better. Especially for the fact that Ronald D. Moore is not a regular producer on it and writer on it.
Yeah, that is the only reason I am holding out any hope for Caprica is he is a creator, not an active showrunner on it.
Yep, yep. Well, we
Oh,
will
fuck.
get there when we get there. We still got one more movie and 17 episodes left of this show, so we'll get there. So,
Does
you
the
know.
plan not count as a movie?
The plan is a movie. That's what I was saying.
Okay,
The
so
one that there's two more movies. Well,
so I
technically,
was gonna say, what's Blood and Chrome then?
Blood and Chrome is another movie,
Okay,
but it's also like it was all supposed to be a pilot for a different show and I think David Icke is on it, who was one of the creators of Battlestar Galactica, but not Ronald D. Moore either.
okay.
So and it was like made like Blood and Chrome was made like I want to say like 7-8 years afterwards. So
Oh,
there's
okay.
like a clear production break, whereas like the plan was made like the show ended and then the plan came out on DVD like 3-4 months later. So
In a desperate attempt to spackle over the fact that shit makes no sense.
yeah, so yeah, that movie is very it's the first two seasons from the Cylon's point of view, and Cavill is a main character in it. And it is worth it just for Cavill for Dean Stockwell, but it is a lot of like, and here's all the shit that was going down behind the scenes, and we're trying to just make it make sense.
I honestly, I'm really curious to see that, if for no other reason than like I just want to see the contortions that it twists itself into, trying to pretend that anything the Cylons did made any fucking sense.
Yeah, yeah, we will get there. We will get there. But yeah, it's a movie that's not a good like most fans don't like the plan. Mostly because it is just an exercise in that. It's not really a plot in of itself. It's a let us try and paper over as much of this bullshit as we can. So, yeah.
Ah, well.
But it is an interesting thing, and I will give it. Dean Stockwell is great in it. I think he does a great job. So
Look, he's been great in the show. They've done some fucking bullshit with his character that I could do without, but like he's not, again, by and large, the actors are not the problem.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I will say, like, there is a stuff with Cavill we will get to in the show, not in the plan, but in the show. Like, there's a moment there's a speech that he gives in this show that is one of my favorite scenes in anything, and wormed its way into my brain, in a way you will understand when you see it. It'll explain a lot about me, and also goes into a lot of the similar themes as Caprica, is what I will say. There's something that
Hmm.
he talks about that becomes his thing, that becomes a big theme in Caprica, and it very much defined my brain in a very fundamental way. To the point where, like, in an acting class, the monologue he gives in that scene is, I did that monologue myself. So we'll get there when we get there. So, anyways, that's it. Anything else, Avira?
Nah.
Alrighty, stuff time.
Stuff. You find my stuff by looking for Council of Geeks. Patreon pays the bills and enables me to do this as my living. The main thing that funds is the Council of Geeks YouTube channel, which I'm gonna stop promising the best Doctor Who cliffhangers for the time being, because right now there is a decent chance it comes out like at the end of April, but even then I can't promise that. Look, shit has happened that I want to talk about and kind of needs to be talked about fairly quick. At time of talking, the most recent video I put out was the one about the Jonathan Majors Daily Wire movie, and I literally shot that, edited it, and released it in the same damn day. That is how quickly shit is happening right now, that I'm like, I need to talk about this now, because if I do it later, the bones will already be picked clean on this. So I've unfortunately got a couple of those, so it keeps getting pushed back, but it will happen. I'm going to stop talking about it until it does, though.
It's almost like it's you covering your Ferengi video.
Fuck you. There's also the break room of geeks, where I have so far been keeping up with Daredevil Born Again. And I talk about whatever I have watched, listened to, read, or played lately. You can also find Council of Geeks on Blue Sky, where I post not a heck of a lot. Um, so that is the geeky stuff. There is, of course, also the spicy stuff.
Also the spicy stuff.
And for that, you look for Vera Wild.
Wild.
Wild is spelled Wilde.
YLDE.
You can find increasingly spicy content.
Increasingly spicy.
Volume is not funny.
It is.
On YouTube.
YouTube.
TikTok.
And you can find me at Jesse Gender on YouTube, where I do video essay style of stuff. Almost certainly by the time you get this one out, the Hollywood video will be out, because Aronok is finishing that up. Shout out to Aronok, who's amazing for having jumped on editing that after my editor screwed me over with that. So that'll be out soon. I have Jesse Dinner After Dark, where I do news, reviews, reactions. I am also reviewing Daredevil Born Again. I will also probably review all of Invincible season 4. I think they're on right now. When that comes to an end, I wasn't going to do an episode. I almost was going to do it episode by episode, but I've been busy. So I'll just do a review of the whole season. Anyways, you can check me out over there. I'm on
no Star Wars Shadow Lord?
Oh, no. I watched it. It's fine. I watched the first 2 episodes that came out last night. It's fine. I mean, I like Darth Maul, and I was like fine with it, but it's like it's so inconsequential. It's like one of those I'm watching. I'm like, I mean, I don't hate it. It's just one of those like, okay, cool, glad that exists. It's like not telling anything that needed to be told, but sure.
So suffering from the classic interquel problem, which is that nothing of massive significance can actually happen because it happens in between all the established shit.
Yes, what I will give it is it has the potential to tie up a loose end that I actually did find interesting, which was all that like Solo, Crimson Dawn, Darth Maul stuff from the movie Solo that they hinted at. I always kind of liked that like criminal underground element of that movie, and it just got dropped because the movie didn't do great. The rest of that movie has some major problems. So that element I actually didn't hate. But so it has potential to touch on some of that stuff that I liked. And also I will give it this. There is a part of me that does just kind of enjoy a like superfluous Star Wars story where it's like, okay, it's got Darth Maul, but he's kind of acting as like crime boss, and it's just like, okay, it's just like a crime boss Star Wars story that's like not dealing with the rebellion, not really dealing with the Empire. It's not tied up in a shit ton of legacy characters other than Darth Maul to justify it. I don't know. There's something kind of nice about it. It's just a story in the Star Wars universe. I enjoy it. Does it make it like particularly required viewing? No. But again, it's like it's one of those like, yeah, it's fine. I don't dislike that it exists, but I'm not also like, oh, you need to go out and see it right now. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
There's sometimes I just like that. Sometimes it's like, you know what? I like having whatever little give me my glup shittos for a little bit, you know? It's not bad. It's not bad. It's good, but it's not consequential, and sometimes that's fine. You know, sometimes you just want the comfort food.
Where's my Dexter Jetster spinoff? Damn it!
Yeah, actually, I was at WonderCon, and someone made, I kid you not, an incredibly detailed model of Dexter's Diner. Like, like it was a model, and it had like the little menus were all printed out on it. You could look in there. It was really cool. I'm like, this is amazing. What an odd thing to have like of all the models you could have made, you made one of Dexter's Diner, and I'm here for you. Like I support this choice, but it's an odd one. And it was like it's a sizable, like it was the size of like my desk. It was like a big size like model of Dexter's Diner. I'm like, cool, that's amazing. I love that. I love that for you, my guy. Live your best neurodivergent dreams. Anyways.
Glad you said it. I wasn't gonna.
Yeah. Blue Sky, Instagram. You can follow me on Patreon pays the bills. Nebula houses my movie identities, the streaming service, and also has Subliminal, which is a show that will release at some point later this year that has an episode that I directed, which I just saw a cut of near final cut, and it's good. I mean, I'm pleased with it. So we'll see how it comes out. All right. Anything else of Vera?
Nah.
Alrighty then. With all that said, I hope you all, my friends, live long and prosper.
Be seeing you.